Hello, my wonderful people. You are all welcome to uh, Mathematics Olympiad class, and we shall quickly consider the last question. And though I added another two questions to the last question, I only put one exercise there last time, but I added two to this particular the questions we are going to treat today. So the first question is, if x raised to power 3 all over x minus 1 equals 1 over x minus 1, we are to find the value of x. X is not equal to 1. So take note, x is not equal to 1. Now, from the question, since the denominator are equal, they are the same, we have x minus 1 as denominators on both sides of the equal sign. Then we can just equate the numerators. So if we equate the numerator, we have x raised to power 3 equals 1. Then if we now take the plus 1 to the other side, left side of equal sign, or we minus 1 from both sides, what we are going to have is x raised to power 3 minus 1 then equals 0, because 1 minus 1 will be 0. That's if we minus 1 from both sides. We minus 1 from x raised to power 3, and we also minus 1 from 1. So minus 1 from x raised to power 3 will give us x raised to power 3 minus 1. Then minus 1 minus 1 will give us 0. So we have x raised to power 3 minus 1 equals 0. So from here, since x is raised to exponent 3, that is x raised to power 3, we can as well raise 1 raised to power of 3. So they have the same power, 3 and 3. 1 raised to power 3 is still the same thing as 1. So we have x raised to power 3 minus 1 raised to power 3 equals 0. So if we use the identity, m cubed minus n cubed equals m minus n, m into bracket, then open bracket, m squared plus mn plus n squared, close the bracket. That is, if we have m cubed minus n cubed, then we have this. So if we use the identity now for s cubed minus 1 cubed, since they are both having cube, then we have x minus 1 into bracket, then x squared plus x plus 1 into bracket equals 0. The mn there is x times 1, and it's still x. That's why we have x there. And the n square is the n square. There is 1 square, and 1 square is still 1. So that is why we have x squared plus x plus 1 into bracket there. So x minus 1 is representing m minus n. Then m squared plus mn plus n squared is representing x squared plus x plus 1. So we have x minus 1 into bracket x squared plus x plus 1 into bracket equals 0. Now from the first equation, the x minus 1 that we have inside the first bracket, if we get it to 0, we have x minus 1 equals 0, then plus 1 to both sides, then we have x equals 1. But right from the question, we have been told that x is not 1, because if you equate x to 1, the answer will not be correct. So now we use the second equation. The second equation now is x squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. So if you look at this equation now, is a quadratic equation. X squared plus x plus 1 equals 0. Now, but it's not a perfect equation. It's not, we cannot factorize it. So we cannot use factorization formula. So we have to use quadratic formula or the other formula. So let's go by quadratic formula. So we use quadratic formula, which says minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now we need to find the value of the following variables a, b, and c, so that we can plug them in to the formula, the quadratic formula. Now a is the coefficient of x squared, and the coefficient of x squared is plus 1. B is the coefficient of x, and the coefficient of x there also is 1 plus 1. And C is the constant, and the constant there also is plus 1. So we have A equals 1, B equals 1, C equals 1. Now from here, if we plug in the values now, b, that's plus 1, but the minus there, minus times plus will be minus, so it's minus 1, then plus or minus b again, 1 square, that's 1 square minus 4 times 1 times 1 all over 2 times 1. So we have minus 1 plus or minus 1 square minus 4 times 1 times 1 square is still 1, so then all over 2 times 1. Then the square root there, we have 4 times 1 times 1, that's 4. So then we have 1 minus 4, that will give us minus 3. So we have minus 1 plus or minus square root of minus 3 all over 2. That is 2 times 1 is 2. So what we then have is, we can have the two answers here because of the plus or minus. So we have minus 1 plus square root of minus 1 times 3. Minus 1 times 3 is the same thing as minus 3. They are all over 2. Or minus 1 minus square root of minus 1 times 3 all over 2. We have splitted the plus and minus there. So since square root of minus 1 is imaginary unit, is an imaginary unit, so we have, that means we can plug in I as imaginary unit to represent our square root of minus 1. So we now have minus 1 plus I square root of 3 over 2, or minus 1 minus I square root of 3 over 2, and that will be the final answer for this particular question. question number 2, which I just added to this the class we're having today. Now the question says, if x square x raised to power 2x raised to power 10 equals 100, we are to find the value of x raised to power 20. X raised to power 2x raised to power 10 equals 100. Find the value of x raised to power 20. So from here now, the first thing we are going to do is to raise both sides to power 5. So it then means, or it then follows that we have x raised to power 2, x raised to power 10 into bracket raised to power 5 equals 100 into bracket raised to power 5, or 100 raised to power 5. So if you raise both sides to power 5, that's what we have. X raised to power 2x raised to power 10, all in bracket raised to power 5, equals 100 raised to power 5. We raised both sides to power 5. Why did we use exactly 5 and not other numbers? Because the other side here is raised to power 10. Then and we have 2x there raised to power 2x there. So the number that can multiply 2 there to make it 10 is 5. That's why we are using raised to power 5. And also when we use 5 at the other side, 100, when we break it down to 10 square, the 2 also multiplying 5 will give us 10. So as we continue, you understand better. So from here, it then follows that since we have raised both sides to power 5, we can just use the power 2 to multiply the power 5. So we have x raised to power 2 times 5 x raised to power 10, that is x raised to power 2 times 5 x raised to power 10 equals 10 raised to power 2, that is 100. There we have reduced it to 10 raised to power 2. So 10 raised to power 2, that's 10 times 10, that's 100. So 10 raised to power 2 is equivalent to 100. So 10 raised to power 2 then raised to power 5. So we now have 2 times 5 there is 10. So we have x raised to power 10, then x raised to power 10 again, x raised to power 10 raised to power x raised to power 10 equals 10 raised to power 10. That is 2 times 5, 10. That is x raised to power 10 raised to power x raised to power 10 equals 10 raised to power 10. Since the base and the powers are equal on both sides of the equal sign, then we can equate the base or we equate the power. So we have x raised to power 10 equals 10. What do we mean by, since we have x raised to power 10 raised to power x raised to power 10, they are equal, equals 10 raised to power 10. It means we can just pick the base or the power and equate them. So we are equating the base, x raised to power 10 equals 10. So if you square both sides, then we have x raised to power 10 squared equals 10 squared. Then x raised to power 10 squared will give us 10 times 2, 20. X raised to power 20 equals 10 squared is 10 times 10, that is 100, equals 100. Then it then follows that x raised to power 20 equals 1 100, and that's what they asked us to find. We were asked to find the value of x raised to power 20, which equals 100, and that was why we square both sides, so that we can have that x raised to power 20, which is now 100. So this is the third question, the question number 3 that I added to this class. Now we have, if 2 raised to power 3 raised to power 8 raised to power y equals 512, 512, find the value of y. What we have here is, since 2 raised to power 9 is equivalent to 512, that is 512, 2 in 9 places is 512, then we can plug in 2 raised to power 9 to replace 512. So we have 2 raised to power 3 raised to power 8 raised to power y equals 2 raised to power 9. Now, since we have that, and the base here are equal, 2 and 2, the base are equal, we can just equate the power and cancel the base. So we have 3 raised to power 8 raised to power y equals 9. We have equated the powers. 3 raised to power 8 raised to power y equals 9. The base cancels the base, 2 cancels the 2. Now we have 3 squared equals 9. And since 3 squared equals 9, we can plug it in where we see 9. So we have 3 raised to power 8 raised to power y equals 3 squared. 3 squared, that's 3 times 3, 9. From here we have, since we now have the base equal as well, 3 and 3, we can cancel out the base and then equate the powers. So what we have is 8 raised to power y equals 2. We have equated the powers. So we just, from here we can just find a way of making the power equal. And since 8 can be simplified further to 2 raised to power 3, that is 2 in 3 places, will give us 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So we'll plug in 2 raised to power 3 as 8. So if you plug it in as 8, we have 2 raised to power 3y equals 2 raised to power 1. 2 raised to power 1 is the same thing as 2. So we are just putting the power 1 there. Now, since we now have the base equal, that is 2 and 2, we can cancel out the base and then equate the powers. So we now have 3y equals 1. We are equating the powers. 3y equals 1. Now, it then follows that since we have the coefficient of y to be 3, we can divide both sides by that coefficient of y, which is 3. And then we have 3y over 3 equals 1 over 3. We are dividing both sides by 3. So 3 will cancel out 3 at the left side. then we have y left. So y equals 1 over 3, and that's the answer for y here. Our exercises for the next class, we have question number 1, which says 2 raised to power 2. We have to simplify rather. 2 raised to power 2, raised to power 2, raised to power 2, raised to power 0. That is question number 1. 2 raised to power 2, raised to power 2, raised to power 2, raised to power 0. Simplify. For question number 2, if m and n are the zeros to the function f of x equals x squared minus 11x plus 30, then what is m plus n minus mn? That is, find the value of m plus n minus m times n. That is question number 2. Then question number 3 for our next class. Find the value of x if, open bracket, 2 raised to power x into bracket raised to power 1 over x equals x raised to power 32. That is 2 raised to power x into bracket raised to power 1 over x again equals x over 30, equals x raised to power 32. Find the value of x. So until we meet next class, don't forget to get more of these videos, to subscribe and click notification button, click subscription button, click like button, share the video with your friends. Thank you very much. We'll meet next class.